depending on which study you read, between 50 and 70% of personal training clients are not following their personal trainer's plan. And it's not because they don't want results. And it's not because your plan is bad. It's because your plan may not match the lifestyle, how their brain works, or even the values that they have. And if you're a trainer in the first 1 or 2 years, this is probably the number one invisible reason why your clients either ghost you, cancel last minute, or just outright lose motivation. So today I'm going to break down the system I've used to help executives, athletes, founders, and just high-performing professionals to stick to their program and the programs I make for them without feeling like they're being forced or me begging them to do it. And trust me when I say, it starts with understanding values in a way that most trainers have never even considered. So in this video, I'm going to break down how to get your clients to stick to their plans and convince them to stay on the plan you make for them. This is one of the biggest problems in industry because when a client is not sticking to your plan, as a personal trainer, this can mean that either you are not executing in the way you're coaching it, or it can simply mean that you are not getting the results for your clients that they're looking for. And to be honest, as a coach, the way I think about it is everything is our fault. Sure, it's on that client to do those things outside the session or outside the programming. You may speak to that client for 20 minutes a week or see that client for 2-3 hours a week. So there's a lot of hours in the day that you are not with that client. So the levels of accountability ultimately is what results in those results and what holds them back and can be the biggest bottleneck. But we're here to talk about what we can do as coaches, not what the client is not doing. So the first thing I want you to learn when you take it on a personal training client in person or online is to actually learn the value that they need, not the value that you want it to be. So here's how I understand this. One of the fastest ways to lose a client is to lose their commitment. And to assume that the value of your services are the same as the values you have as a coach can be one of the reasons why you will lose a client. Here's what I mean. So when I started, I thought the value was all in making the perfect program, the perfect weekly split, getting the client the most perfect workout I can make for them, or get them in the sweat or feel a particular result after our sessions. And while that's still part of the experience, it's not the model that actually has worked over time as I built my personal training business. So it's not the exercise selection, it's not the macros, and it's not the perfect weekly split. So what is it? So here are some examples of what it may be. For some clients, the value is feeling supported, feeling like they have a collaborator, a partner in this experience of fitness and health and holistic lifestyle change. For others, it's accountability. It's knowing that there's someone that's going to be there and there's someone I'm accountable to. So when they don't feel like doing something or they are feeling inconvenienced by what they have to do, knowing that they've made that verbal, financial, and even sometimes physical commitment to be somewhere or to do something can be huge for some clients. For others, it's simply removing decisions from their day. After training hundreds of high performers and high output individuals in their careers, I've learned that for many of my clients, they experience decision fatigue at a very high level. So learning what exercises or when to go to the gym or what program to be on is just one more decision those clients do not want to make. So understanding the value of helping them make one less major decision in their life can be huge. And it's hard to put a price on. For some high performing people, sometimes it simply means efficiency and clarity, not complexity. So when a client is needing to check a box, essentially, of addressing their fitness and their health, sometimes the best thing you can do for them is create a simple plan with a simple experience that is efficient and consistent, that lacks the complexity, at least initially, to get them going. And I've learned this through some very hard moments. I've lost clients over time, and sometimes those clients will not tell you exactly why they stopped working with you. They will simply label you as someone who did not help them solve their problem. And for that, as a personal trainer, is an unacceptable experience and a feedback that you may never get or you do get. So most often, there is a misunderstanding in value that the clients may not tell you. And our job as personal trainers and high-level personal trainers is to simply discover that value at a very individual level. And what you'll learn over time is that you'll get clients that are very similar in what they actually need. And it's your job to take the toolkit that you've learned through your certifications, through your experience, through your passion, to create the experience and the value for that particular client. And over time, you'll learn that there are brackets, and 5 clients may need the same thing, but sometimes in different ways. So learn what the actual value is, not the value that you want to provide. For example, I'm going to use a few clients that I currently work with now. I'm not going to say their name for privacy, but I will speak about them. So my client O is a high-level enterprise sales executive. When we first started, I figured he needed a body recomposition program. And it was all about how can we cut his body fat and increase his muscle. He was playing hockey twice a week in an intramural league, as well as a very active in other small adult leagues. He was very high strung and had a high demand at work. So I thought, let's just get him to reduce his body fat, increase his energy, increase his muscle, and maybe he'll feel better and this will solve his problem. And while many of this has been proven to be true from a structural exercise level, it took me about 1.5 years to really learn that O needed something a little different. He was high stress. So anything that revolved around complexity, decision-making, O was high stress. So anything that involved high amounts of decision-making or complexity outside his job, he was not interested in. And I've learned over time how to make things simple, but also convenient for O. And ever since I've made that adjustment and really focused on the simplicity and convenience, he makes more sessions. He's less stressed about the experience. And just overall, we've gotten more results because his perspective and outlook on the experience I'm providing has improved and has gone less away from these hard results that we're looking for and more into the lifestyle and experience that you'll be having. And it's my job at the back end to make sure those results are getting done regardless of how the approach is as well. So let me give you one more example. I have a client, she is 62 years old. When we first met, it was all about she wanted to get fit. She wanted to experience what it's like to have fitness as part of her lifestyle. And we used to do so much work around general fitness. I would see her 4 to 5 times a week. We would do all of these exercise programs, strength training and resistance training and HIIT training and mixing training. And while this was valuable for some time, it took me about 1.5 years as well to really learn what was missing from her life was high amount of nutrition coaching. She was killing it in the gym. Anything I asked her to do, she would do at a very high level. She would make it to her sessions. But I learned over time that her perspective, her view around nutrition and recovery wasn't conducive for getting results for her body. So what I did was I began having simple conversations about nutrition with her. Nothing too aggressive, just asking questions and clarifying questions. Learning more about her philosophy on food, her history with food. How was food seen for her as growing up? What part of her career did she maybe eat the most, eat the less? How did her career as a lawyer shape her nutritional behavior? And when I began to ask clarifying questions and understand her behavior and view around food, I was able to then learn at a higher level how I can help her build a better relationship around nutrition. And while we still were hitting it hard in the gym and building strength, I learned that ultimately having conversations around nutrition coaching and building a better relationship with nutrition was the actual value this client needed, not the value that I thought she needed in the beginning. If you're convincing clients to stick with you, you're offering the wrong type of value. They'll always drift. You must discover what they really need and what the value really is, not what you think it should be. So that takes me into part 2. Part 2 is all about reducing the friction. I cannot emphasize this enough, how important it is to reduce friction when it comes to getting your clients to stay on the program you make for them. The second mistake that I see personal trainers make is thinking clients resist the goal. Most clients don't resist the goal. They resist the friction around it. The more steps, the more decisions, the more complexity, the more things they have to do, the more inconvenience, the less that they adhere to the program. Think about yourself in your personal life. When things have more friction, more steps, more places to be, more loopholes to jump through, you're less likely to stick with it. And a lot of personal trainers get it in their minds that this is how it's supposed to be. They build up this great program of step-by-step actions, of deadlines, 60-day, 30-day things that will get a client in a particular shape or result. And they expect that all clients that will come into their business would adhere to this step-by-step and get the results they need. And while that's a great marketing plan and can build in a lot of short-term clients who need results, how are you going to get those clients to adhere to a bigger, larger program to retain them for either 6 months to a year without it being all about an arbitrary or particular result? Because at some point, you stop losing weight. And at some point, you don't build muscle as fast. And at some point, you can't perform at an even higher level. So what is it exactly are you offering, and what level of friction comes with that offer? So ultimately, you need structure that anchors commitments without triggering resistance. This means setting expectations clearly before the very first session. So going with a subscription model over a package model can be very beneficial because you get the reoccurring business without dealing with the cancellations and losing sessions. Having cancellation windows can reduce friction by making it less rigid for clients to cancel and more open to clients rescheduling or using a different type of service you provide. Policies that are professional but not punitive is my approach to reducing the friction, but also anchoring those commitments with my clients. What you want to do is reframe this. You're not paying for my time, you're paying for your results. And how I get you those results can vary amongst the services I provide, but the services I provide is under this umbrella of packages or a subscription model. And once your clients understand that, it's not about how many sessions they make it to or how many times they log their program. It's all about, did they get the results they need? And is your program and the services you provide providing the services that they can use to do so? So that level of flexibility gives an open approach to just the busiest people that you'll probably be working with. So the last piece of anchoring the commitment is just knowing when to enforce your policies. Some examples of that is when a client's traveling, you don't punish them, you restructure the plan. When a client's overwhelmed with life and work stress, you ask how you can modify how they show up. If a client's consistently canceling, you anchor the standards with empathy and clarity, not emotion. Sometimes it's important to reset expectations and reset overall approach to personal training. And your ability to structure things financially will ensure that you still get paid for the services you provide without being a result of clients canceling or not logging their training. And the last part of getting your clients to stop canceling and quitting is to keep it fresh. Sometimes I've learned over the course of the years is that simply stimulating your clients and making sure they're stimulated keeps it flexible and avoids monotony. So mixing things up or changing the philosophy or the focus of the month are good ways of re-engaging that client, especially clients who've been with you for a very long time. It can be very easy to fall into an expected structure when you've been working with a client for a very long time. But it's important to re-stimulate that client, re-engage them with new training, new workouts, different approaches, different philosophy that falls within the approach that you've established originally. Keeping things fresh and sometimes new in your communication or training can always keep a client wanting to come back for more because they know that things will be updated and stimulating at all times. This can be a lot of work for personal trainers, but you don't have to do much. Sometimes just a 5% change in communication or personal training structure can go a long way of re-engaging that client again. So sometimes clients quit with personal trainers because programming stops feeling personal and meaningful. So as a personal trainer, you don't need to reinvent the wheel. You just need a philosophy that allows for flexibility. High-level personal trainers have a philosophy, not a rule book. This means that keeping the plan fresh by changing the stimulus, introducing small changes, rotating modalities, gyms, hybrid, outdoor, at home, giving clients mini workouts, giving them something new monthly, reframing the progress beyond just weight and muscle and exercise and performance goals, just reframing those things can go a long way. And sometimes just to make an adjustment based on mood, energy, or just life experiences at the time can be very vital in how a client experiences your services day to day. So there is a rule I follow for all my high-performing clients. If they can't execute it on their worst day, it's too big. I'll say that again. If they cannot execute it on their worst day, then what you're asking them to do is too big. High achievers want big goals, but habit formation doesn't really work that way. They need clear, small, and low effort wins that compound. For example, in my personal training business, my primary focus is to always avoid the I word. So what's the I word? Inconvenience. I hate that word. And it's the number one focus each week going into my personal training schedule and with my personal training clients. How can I avoid inconvenience the best I can? And while it's not perfect, I figure if I'm consistent in that approach, at least 70% of the time, my retention rate will remain highest amongst my peers. This is because I simply focus on making things as convenient as I can for clients. And here's the truth. You don't have to have the best personal training program and structure out there. Sometimes simply being convenient and having less friction could keep a client with you for a very long time. Because one thing that people will always admit is that they'll do the thing that's most convenient more often. And we all like to optimize for convenience, whether we like it or not. And we're doing it in each area of our life at all times. So when it comes to your personal training business, do your absolute best. It's not perfect, but do your best to avoid inconveniencing your clients in any particular way. Here's some quick examples of how to avoid inconvenience. Sometimes you need to turn a 60-minute gym session into a 20-minute non-negotiable baseline, where you get 20 minutes of consistent work in, even if the client is late, the client is tired, the client is not feeling well, the client has to run out, take a call. You know that 20 minutes of that session will be highly efficient, highly intentional, and that client can always trust in that. And I promise you, knowing that those 20 minutes will get done will sometimes really be enough for clients to make it in, even on their worst day. Let's talk about nutrition. Sometimes you tell a client, I need you to get 160 grams of protein in every single day. That client is probably eating maybe 70 grams of protein day to day, and they may be actually trying. So you can use something like, hey, listen, every single meal you eat, let's make sure there's protein on that plate. And that mindset will get them to just simply add protein. Here's a philosophy. I'm going to add protein to every single meal. And over time, you'll realize it's much easier to get that protein goal because the goal is small, it's simple, and it's not that much friction. Just add protein to your plate. Not everywhere and not everyone can get 10,000, 15,000 steps a day. Or simply telling my clients to park further away from your destinations. Or if you need to go out for lunch, walk to get that lunch. Order food less. Sometimes just get up and go walk for 10 minutes and sit back down. Anything that allows you to just take more steps during the day, I want you to practice that. Sometimes it's simple as make sure you park further away from your destination. Just doing that can add almost 3,000 steps to your day, depending on where you live. So the focus really is, if the plan feels easy, clients stick with it. And if there's less friction, they're more likely to adhere to those programming inputs that you give them because you're making it simple, frictionless, and it's less thinking and more doing on their end. If the plan feels heavy, even elite level client will eventually crumble. This takes me into part 3. And part 3 is all about asking clarifying questions and asking them often. This has taken me so long to understand as a personal trainer of how to just simply ask the right questions and ask for clarity. I can't tell you how many times I thought I communicated something clearly or asked a question to a client that I never communicated and I never asked. So when a client had feedback or they wouldn't do something I asked them to do, I would simply ask myself, didn't I tell you how to do this? Didn't we talk about this? Haven't I asked you about this particular area of life? And when it was time to reflect, I realized I never asked them, hey, do you understand what I'm asking you to do? A simple clarifying question that lets you know that that client understands you. And as trainers, we are very intelligent. We're all about the science. We're all about helping our clients. So we build up this philosophy and language in our head, and we all believe that our clients can speak the language that we speak. But simply, they just taking in information like high-level information all the time in their day-to-day, that when you add more information to that client in the form of which the way you speak, it may not always get there. So the third piece to getting clients to stick to their program is simply ask clarifying questions to help them understand your program. Clients don't fail because they lack discipline. Clients fail because trainers don't ask enough clarifying questions to understand how the clients actually operate. High achievers especially will never tell you that they're struggling. You'll have to extract that information. So here are 4 questions that I ask all my clients now and many of my incoming prospective clients who will be joining my program. The first question I like to ask that is a clarifying question about their lifestyle is, what are the bottlenecks and frictions in your life currently? And how does personal training or getting a coach fit into that lifestyle and solve that problem? So essentially, I want to know, what are the problem areas in your life right now? And how does someone like me help you fix that? That will get that client thinking about what it is that they're actually purchasing and investing into. And that clarifying question will get feedback for you to really understand what our original point was when we started this video. And that's really understanding the underlying value that that client need, not the one you want to give them. The second clarifying question is, listen, if we scale this goal you have down by 50%, what would you be able to hit every single time without fail? This is helping the client understand what they can do, whether daily, weekly, monthly, consistently, even on days that they feel like they can't do it at all. What is 1 or 2 things that is absolutely doable even on their worst day? So no matter if work was bad, they need to adhere to their family or their children, their spouse, or they need to get a big assignment done. What is it that they can do and even automate every day that will help them achieve the goal that they're looking for? Whether that be exercise related, nutritionally, or holistically and wellness related. How are they able to address their fitness and health goals every day, somehow, even if you scale that goal down by 50%? The third question is, on your worst day, what version of you will execute this plan? Or what version of you will still execute this plan on your worst day? This clarifying question helps you understand the different types of personality types exist in one client. And different people in different areas of that client life will bring out a different personality. And what this clarifying question will allow you to understand is that the complexities of a client can change from a day to day and week to week. So understanding what version of them will still complete that goal will help you understand who this client is in different areas in their life. And the best thing you can do as a personal trainer, and I tell trainers this all the time, is you need to be able to retain a client and really be a support system for a client as they transition through different versions of themselves, in different chapters in their life. If you can be a consistent anchor in different chapters of their life where they're going through different versions of themselves, this can make you more valuable and ultimately lead to more retention. For example, if you're working with a woman prior to her dating, if you can work with her while she's dating until she gets a boyfriend or a partner, and then they move in together and you're still her personal trainer, and then they get engaged and you're still her personal trainer, and then they get married, you're still her personal trainer, and you take her through the prenatal, postnatal process. Now she has children. These are different chapters and really different personalities of that woman's life that you are an anchor for. So really understanding that what version of them can still execute a plan will allow you to provide that consistent communication as that client goes through those ebbs and flows career-wise and lifestyle-wise. And the last question is this a priority because you think you want it or because you think you should want it? This question uncovers whether goals are built on ego or external pressure instead of internal drive. High-performing clients respond to precision, not pressure. The more clarity you create, the more compliance you'll get. This clarifying question will allow you to differentiate whether a client feels that they should have a goal or they really want one. Sometimes there are a lot of societal, family, and even relationship pressure to be a certain way that does not align with who the client is or how their brain works. So it's better to understand what they really want or what they think they want rather than what they think they should have. So let's differentiate the real expectations and desires from the pressures of external factors. And sometimes a clarifying question like that will help you simplify a program because there are things that clients want that they would never discuss with you, but they would expect you to understand as a personal trainer and a professional in the health and fitness industry. And there are things that clients expect simply because either their friend, sometimes even an influencer or someone they look up to is doing it or has it as well. So being able to draw that line in the sand and separate real results and things you can provide for that client rather than false expectations that may not align with that client's lifestyle or current situation. So just to recap, if your clients are not following a plan consistently, not just when they're motivated, you need three major things. The first thing you need to do is understand what the actual value you're providing that client is, not the value that you want it to be. The second thing you need to do is reduce the friction and make the plan executable even on their worst day. And the very last thing is to ask clarifying questions regularly so that you understand what a client really needs behind the scenes. When you approach your personal training business this way, clients stop seeing you as a plan or chore, and they start seeing you as a solution that they've been missing. And when you build this way, you will retain clients longer and have deeper, more meaningful relationships. This is how you build trust. And that's how you build a reputation as a high-performing trainer that clients don't want to leave. If you found value in this video, please like and subscribe to our channel. If this video helps you or helps someone you know, please share this video to help our channel grow. Thank you, and I hope to see you soon.